Right now, as we've been doing each and every Monday, except for, last Monday when we took the day off because of Labor Day, we've been spending some time with our good friend from Mercy Health, Dr. Dennis Norem, talking about the latest going on with COVID-19. I just happened to glance up on the screen. First off, Dr. Norem, good morning to you.
Good morning to you guys.
How's everything going this morning?
It's going well.
Glad to hear it. I just looked up on the screen a moment ago, and I see that Pfizer is going ahead with apparently their race for some trials for a COVID-19 vaccine. One of many different groups that are trying to develop something, but apparently Pfizer's on to something, or at least that's the way it appears right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know the drug companies are really pushing hard to get their vaccine trials completed so that they can be the first to get their vaccine available to the country. But we, have to be careful with that. That is a bit of a concern, how quickly this vaccine is produced and given to the public.
Yeah, Doctor, to be, let's just get right down to it right here. To be honest, I mean, I don't believe a lot of the news I hear from anybody anywhere right now. Why would I believe? And when we started talking about vaccines, everybody said, January 1st would be super early. We're going to talk about, probably next summer before we can actually roll it out. Now we're hearing, it could be coming soon, could be right before the election. I mean, where do I go to trust anything if somebody tells me, November 1st, yeah, I got a vaccine, you guys should do it?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I'm not sure I have a really good answer. I know the vaccine companies got together and said that they all agree that they're not going to allow their vaccines to be released until they're comfortable with the efficacy and safety data. Having said that, however, there's a lot of political pressure and just pressure in general to get that vaccine out. So I think you're going to have to really look at multiple sources. And I think that the people who are, really the experts on vaccines, the Faucis of the world, I think are the people you're going to have to watch. I mean, he's been optimistic, but he's, I think, said all along that it would be unlikely that we would have a vaccine before the end of the year, that we could get widespread across the country. So I kind of go that direction and watch those experts to see what their comments are.
When they talk about Operation Warp Speed, is that what we're calling it right now, to get the vaccines out correctly? What is being sped up in the vaccine development process that we didn't think was possible?
Yeah, what are we working 3 shifts instead of 2? How does that work?
Well, I think the manufacturing has been really ramped up in terms of the companies and their resources and their commitments to manufacturing the vaccines to get the basic structure and the things that go into vaccines. The other thing that's happened is that these trials, they've really pushed to get people enrolled very quickly in the trials. And I think in the big picture, in the past, it would take 2 to 3, sometimes 4 years to come up with a new vaccine. We've been at this, 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really shortened the time frame in terms of trying to get a vaccine out. And that is a bit of a concern.
It is a concern.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm looking at a piece this morning saying British scientists are beginning a small study comparing how 2 experimental coronavirus vaccines might work when they are inhaled by people instead of being injected. Imperial College of London and Oxford University said a trial involving 30 people would test vaccines developed by both institutions when participants inhale the droplets in their mouths, which would directly then target their respiratory system. They're trying to see if vaccines might be more effective if they are inhaled rather than injected.
Well, and we've had an inhaled flu vaccine that was kind of on and off the market for a number of years, flu mist.
That's right, the nasal stuff. Did that work? Did that work?
It worked reasonably well. Then there was concern that it didn't work, and it was actually taken off the market for a brief period of time. I think it's back on. It's an attenuated virus, so it's a live virus that's been affected so that it's not very active in terms of causing disease. But I think the efficacy of the flu mist is not as good as the injection. So it's not widely used. I think they use a little bit more in kids or people that absolutely refuse to get a needle.
Right, and I see, Flu Mist Quadrivalent is, back on the market. They're doing it again. Starts working where the flu typically enters the body through the nose.
Yeah, so theoretically that should have been more effective, but again, that's theory, and then you have to look at the practical application and look at the studies and see, is it really as effective? And I don't think it is quite as effective as the injectable versions.
Now, this next question here, this is one of these things that I worry a little bit about from people who watch the Disease of the Week shows on TV and automatically become symptomatic because they saw it on a show, and I'm pretty certain that I have that one. Internet searches for gastrointestinal symptoms preceded the rise in coronavirus cases weeks later, indicating where pandemic hotspots would form, according to a new study by Massachusetts General Hospital. Researchers found that patients regularly complained of similar GI symptoms, including abdominal pain, loss of appetite, anorexia, diarrhea, and vomiting. Using the Google Trends tool, researchers studied search trends during the period between January 20th to April 20th. During that time, results indicated search trends most strongly correlated with cases in New York, New Jersey, California, Massachusetts, and here in Illinois, which all presented high case numbers 3 to 4 weeks later. So they're trying to draw a correlation between people searching for gastrointestinal symptoms and then later on that area becoming a hot spot.
Yeah, interesting ability to do that. I don't know the significance except to say that we talked about the coronavirus being mainly a respiratory disease, but clearly it had other effects, and certainly GI seems to be one of the things that people who have gotten sick did complain of some GI effects from that. So that's an interesting correlation looking back. The only question you have there is, could there have been some associated other viral infections along with the COVID that people had run into during that time of year?
Well, Joe and I had talked about this too. At the beginning of spring training, before the lockdown and all that happened, I remember we were all treated to the news that the Chicago Cubs, some bug went through the Cubs clubhouse and leveled multiple people, including manager David Ross and all that, with some heavy-duty flu-like symptoms. It only lasted 3-4 days to a week, something like that, and was gone again. And this is before any of us really had heard or paid much attention to anything revolving around a coronavirus.
So the question is, was that coronavirus for sure, or was that something else?
Yeah, and I've had that question has been nagging in the back of my head ever since that information came out, that preseason, it wasn't just them, there were several other major league teams that had it as well, but I remember it hitting the Cubs in particular because they were naming different players who were down with it, and apparently it came on fast. There was the usual GI stuff, there was some respiratory stuff, and then it was gone.
And that fits obviously many of the viruses that we see, including flu, that sometimes we'll see gastrointestinal effects of the flu, even though it's predominantly a respiratory virus.
Swinging back to vaccine talk a little bit, but let's do the flu vaccine. Flu season coming around soon. Are you recommending flu vaccine getting taken as soon as available? Should you wait later into the season to see what's going on? What's your recommendation on flu vaccines?
Well, generally, we like to wait a little bit into maybe late September, early October. Having said that, however, if people have the opportunity to get the flu vaccine and think about it, they should get it. The problem always is that sometimes a person will think, well, I'll get my flu vaccine in October. They may get ill, they may be traveling, they may have forgotten about it. We have an early flu season. It takes a couple of weeks to get your immunity built up. So I think we're getting into the latter stages of September. I think people should go ahead and get it scheduled or just go ahead and get it.
And how would getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine help or hurt you COVID-related?
Well, I think it will help in that we don't want people to have both. We don't want people to get down with the flu and then get exposed to COVID. We're not sure how that is going to work out in terms of illness and symptoms, but it can't be good. to have both illnesses.
No.
And we're not sure whether one may make you susceptible to the other. That remains to be seen, but certainly it won't help if you get the flu and there's COVID on top of it.
Yeah, that would fall into your comorbidity kind of thing, that it seems worse when you're afflicted with something else when you happen to then pick up COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really are encouraging people, get your flu shots this year.
Flu shot, though, won't have any effect as far as COVID-19 goes, because I did see somebody purporting online that one would cover the other one, and pretty quickly had a bunch of medical experts jumping all over him on this one. The two aren't there's no correlation between the two other than you don't want them both.
Correct. Immunity-wise, I don't believe there's any evidence there would be any overlap there between those two different viral families entirely.
And then let's get an update on testing and what we think of it right now. Big Ten football in this area is a hot topic right now. University of Nebraska just secured, I think, 1.5 million rapid tests for them to try to run the season safely. What do you think, or what have you heard about the rapid test right now? What are we doing for like false positive rates? How much less accurate is that than the one that I'm getting through the drive-throughs or the one I'll get at your office?
Well, what I understand is, and I think this was Lilly tested, I can't remember who was discussing it, but their comment was the rapid test is still extremely valuable, even though its false negative rate may be significantly higher, up to 20%, may be missed on the rapid testing. The point was well made, though. If you test the person and they have symptoms, you retest them. Even with that 20% false positive rate, if you test them at least twice, you're probably going to catch it on one of the tests. And that ability to get that rapid result is extremely helpful. I don't know how widespread in our community the rapid testing is yet. I know there's a few places you can get it, but it wasn't available through my health system. The one thing I did see that the University of Illinois, through the College of Medicine, is going to be offering a saliva test. And that is not quite as rapid, but that's about a 3 to 4 hour turnaround time. And the saliva test appears to be very sensitive and probably as good as our current testing that we're doing. That's the PCR with a turnaround time of about 2 days.
Yeah, we had a coworker here that had to quarantine himself, and he took his test, I think, on Monday. Didn't get his results back till Friday. 5 days? Is that what we're doing? Is that the standard time to get your results back still for the standard test?
No. At my office, which I still have some contact with, I've had some recent communications that we are getting turnaround times of 2 days, 48 hours.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. See, we told him he should have gone to a real doctor instead of, an abandoned gas station where a guy'd set up practice. But, he was trying to save on the copay.
That's our insurance.
Yeah, trying to save a little bit. Hey, Dr. Norem, before we let you go, just your take, Halloween is right around the corner. How does a doctor look at Halloween?
Oh, boy. I'm not sure how we're going to do Halloween. I mean, I guess you could socially distance and you could knock on the door, stand back 6 feet and have them throw the candy at you. But that's probably taking kids out and face-to-face with other people, probably not the best idea.
Won't affect me.
No?
So I'm not sure what we're going to do about Halloween.
All right, yeah, that one is still up in the air. I get an idea where it's going to go, but we'll kind of have to stick around and wait. All right, on that note, Dr. Norem, if you're available next week, we would love to continue our COVID-19 conversation, and until the point though where we go, you know what, it's all mopped up, everything's done. We don't have any COVID-19 conversation to have.
I'm looking forward to those days, but I don't see definite date when that's going to happen.
We got you booked through next 4th of July, so
yeah. Good. So don't leave town. Dr. Norem, we appreciate your time this